Welcome back to Overtime, ladies and gentlemen. Been a great show so far. The show's been actually nuts. Completely
actually nuts.
Yeah, it's just been the stuff that's been happening. Had a great talk with Garrett G, and now we're going to talk about Rival Week, the PRL's thing they're doing this week. We're in the middle of it already here. Been some great action so far. Got some more coming up for us, but guys, like $4,000 prize pool and up. You can contribute to the prize pool as the tournament's going on, and it's cool to see. We haven't ever had something like this before.
I mean, I imagine this is the time where somebody sitting there saying, "Man, I wish I hated somebody, or I wish I had a rivalry." I don't get to win money, right?
This is when the payoff comes, right? Yep.
That's as you know you've got quite the tiff with someone when someone's like, "I will pay money to watch you two fight," just because it's just crazy to watch. And we've had some great matches so far. If you haven't been able to watch any of it, go back, check the VODs. It's been cool. But if you're not hyped, we want you to get hyped. We want to see you some of the stuff that's going on. Let's take a look at this trailer. You know, we need to get that music for overtime. Like that's
Just have that going on like right now.
Yeah.
Just,
That was pretty good. Yeah, I was vibing there at the end.
It goes with what we already have, you know?
Yeah.
And there's nothing that gets me more pumped about Rocket League than slow motion alpha boost. That's every single Rocket League trailer.
slow
You know?
motion alpha boost.
Yeah, because that's what all the pros have.
It is kind of like the cue of like you're about to see some cool stuff. We got a slow motion alpha boost here. But I think it's really cool that we've developed enough storylines that the scene is big enough to where this is relevant.
Yeah.
Like when I heard about some of these, I'm like, all right, I actually do really want to see that. You're right. And I don't want to wait until season 4 if they happen to match up or if they make League Player when they actually find each other. So I think it's cool that there's enough of a storyline that's like tantalating enough for people to be like, yeah, I want to see that.
And some of the storylines are not so long-standing as well, like the Flip Side Leftovers one. That's a newer storyline, but I mean, the grudge is there. I mean, you know that these teams have some bad blood, especially with what happened at RLCS last season.
Yeah, all it takes is one particular event or two particular events to happen for a rivalry to blossom. And you talk about Leftovers versus Flip Side. This is the match that's going to happen today, so we haven't seen this one yet. And these guys, you talked about it. It's week number 1. The Leftovers reverse sweeping Flip Side with the dribble heard around the world thing from Fairez. He was able to dribble all 3 players, and then they were the team to knock them out at LAN. So you know that Flip Side's out for blood against the Leftovers.
I mean, that match kind of sandwiched the Leftovers' career. They opened up league play week 1 with a reverse sweep against Flip Side Tactics. They literally called themselves the Leftovers. That's the first time we'd seen them. We're like, you know, I guess they're going to be okay, but they don't even seem to know if they're going to be good. And then they reverse sweep Flip Side. And then at LAN, that's like that was like their last win, I think. Their last win was to kick Flip Side out of LAN. Yeah, that's nuts.
I mean, the one thing about Leftovers that you mentioned before, I don't think they even had expectations for themselves really going into this. And taking out Flip Side, who were at the time the current world champions, and just like knocking them out, that was so much fun to watch, especially because you know that they were up there on stage or like at home, you know what I mean, just like with so much swag, just like whatever, just knock out the current world champions, no problem.
I love the way Snasky said when they figured it out. Like when they were down 2-0, and I think in comms, he's like, I just said, I mean, I guess we should reverse sweep Flip Side, right?
Yeah.
And then they did. Like, just, what a great mentality. I'm like, I guess we have to do this. We don't have a choice.
It's time.
Let's do it. It's time.
So, but my favorite part of this storyline has always been Farah, the player who nobody knew, who comes up and makes a name for himself, is one of the best players on this team. And it's always hard to say who's the best player in a three-man team where you have to rotate and everybody plays all the roles, right? But Farah, such a star player, no longer a part of the roster, though. So this changes things up. I believe they've been playing with Pondex, I believe is the player that the Leftovers have been playing with, and they have not had the success they were having during Season 3. This shakes things up, and if anything, I feel like it maybe plays into Flipside's favor here.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to say. When I've watched them scrim, because I was over at X Games, I was just staying behind them and talking with Pondex a little bit. And I talked with Snazky about the switch. Why did they switch Farah for Pondex? And they didn't have any problems really with Farah as a person or as a player. It's just they thought that Pondex was more polished. Just that, they don't have to grind so much. It can be frustrating, especially when they had such a great
I question that decision,
performance last season.
But
But I mean, they know what's more comfortable for them, and I think that it's going to take time for them to kind of bring him in. They had a couple tournaments with the belt. They didn't go to DreamHack Atlanta, which for me really that was heartbreaking for me because I thought that would have been a great chance for them to play teams of all caliber, whether North American or EU. That tournament was stacked.
Would have been a good chance to see them get beaten by the Muffin Men for sure.
Oh yeah,
it's just the Muffin Men were on fire. Now Cloud9, such a cool team, but it's. I as a former pro, talk to me. They dropped Farah because they feel like Pondex is going to be better, and now things are not going as well as they were with Farah. And I know Farah is not happy about being dropped. So
he already knows. He already knows what he has to say.
You know?
What do you got?
No, okay. Farah right now is going. Farah's not the problem. Farah's not. You get like 100 different accounts on Twitch right now, just saying Farah's not the problem. but I mean, I don't think that they can really make any judgments yet. The season hasn't even started. And if we look at last season, how they did, I mean, they by no means had like an amazing performance last season. I want to say they almost got a little bit lucky that they didn't just get 3-0'd or 4-0'd every game, right? I mean, every game was a reverse sweep. That kind of says something about how their series are starting.
How can you say it's luck when every series they had was a reverse sweep?
Man, I'll say this. As a team that I was the first reverse sweep in RLCS.
That's very true, yeah.
Genesis versus Mocket. And as much as it is about your team coming together and adapting, it also takes something from the other team. They have to be doing something to be able to initially take control of the match or the series. And you have the mental game working against you. And when you get to that pushing point, right, when you're about to take a series 3-0 or even if it's 3-2, there's a point where you're like, okay, I just need to do one more. One more. Can I still do this? I just need one more. And it begins to teeter from confidence to worrying. And that's just the worst case scenario for any team. So I think that.
But they did it over and over again.
It does take something. My point is that it takes something from the other team as well to really give up reverse sweeps time and time again.
Is there a way to use the phrase consistently inconsistent? Because the teams that they really should have lost to, they always went to Game 5. And the teams that they always should have won handedly, they went to Game 5 sometimes. They didn't really know if they should have been a dominant team or just barely there. And they when you look at I know I'm just going to use my hands all the time.
I'm trying to picture this graph you're drawing.
This graph is nuts. Guys, trust me, in my head it's beautiful. There's stats everywhere. This looks great. So if you look at it, but I mean when you really think about it, the teams that they did manage to beat in Game 5 were wow, you guys are caliber. You are up there. And then the teams they'd either lose to or make it to Game 5 also, it's what happened? I thought you were a top-tier team.
Let me rephrase a little bit. I think that they were a team that could take games against the best teams, but you put them in a best of 7 or something against all the top teams, and in that 6th and 7th match, that's when they'll start to lose it. I don't think that over a seriously long game of matches that this is a team that will dominate and win series decisively. But I do think that they benefited from the circumstances of high pressure and not really having so many expectations of themselves. And I feel that they will have higher expectations.
You're
now.
going up against Flipside. You want to talk about a veteran team there. And I think Flipside has, for them to reverse sweep Flipside and for them to beat them at LAN is a huge deal. But Flipside also a team.
I agree.
We can talk
about Leftovers. Don't get me wrong.
We can talk about this all day. Flipside has also been on kind of a downward peak, turn, slope. We'll say slope. Slope's a good word.
Decline.
Anyways, this is the rivalry we're talking about here. Thoughts about who's going to win here? This is the question I want to ask you guys. Give me a too early prediction. It's going to happen later today. Flipside Leftovers. Before we move on to the next one.
There's always a point at where Flipside reminds us that they're good. and they're one of the best. There's always a point where they remind
I hope we're going to see that.
But I don't know if we will, right? I'm scared.
We've talked about it. Who you got?
All right, I'm going to have to go with flip side. I think they're going, this is like that wake-up moment for them.
Okay.
I think that this is like a moment they need to shine.
I'm going to go with flip side, but like, I don't even really
It's the
believe
most
it.
uncomfortable you've
I
ever
don't
been
really
picking
believe
flip
it.
side.
I think that honestly, leftovers could just as easily come in and do it.
Sure,
And the thing is, I just really hope that we see a good leftover side.
I hope so,
I'm
too.
not so much worried about flip side. I think that they'll get out of the slump that they're in. I think it's just a matter of practice.
Sure.
But this leftovers team really kind of. You're right. They need to kind of prove that taking Pondex was actually a good thing.
Yeah, they need to prove that was the right decision. Moving on, G2 versus NRG. Moving over to North America, two hot rosters right now, and both of them been chasing that first LAN victory. NRG just got it, and G2's still looking for it. These are two of the most popular, if not the most popular squads in North America right now.
You can't say anything about either of these. I mean, okay, you can't say anything about NRG. NRG have just constantly shown us how great they are. And every now and then they have a bad week, but it took them so long. Only recently have we seen them not really bring it to the top that we had seen previously. But G2, they have been all over the place, constantly up and down every single week. We never know which G2 we're going to get. Are we going to get the G2 that's probably almost unbeatable? Like, there have been points where I watch them on the pitch, I'm like, you actually can't beat that. But then the next week they come back, and then, like, I have no idea who they are anymore.
Yeah, it's like a matter of they have these.
Why are you getting home so late, G2? It's 2 in the morning. What are you doing? Where have you been? I don't know who you are anymore.
I think that they're definitely on an upward. They're definitely on the up right now, as they've been,
Upward slope?
The upward slope, sure. The upward peak, I don't know.
Incline?
Yeah, incline. Direction, plane, gradient. This is too many words. They've been winning more than of late. They've won the first Brisk tournament. We're going to get to see them perform again, I believe. And then we have them performing very well
It's
at
really like
DreamHack.
every other week. They just have a good performance and then a horrible performance and then a good performance to be like, we're not that bad, guys. Come on, you can't really think that.
It's like my sleep schedule. It's like 1 week, I swear I'm going to bed at real hours, and then the next week it's like, it's 4 in the morning again. What am I doing? I think it's just, they're just like, they don't sleep well.
Like sleep and going to bed late is really on your mind.
And this is,
I haven't slept in a long time, Quinn.
I feel like this is the battle for, like, a North American top dog sweetheart. Like, Rogue could easily be in this conversation as well here of just this rivalry is not. It's not as much about like, oh, they reverse swept him or knocked him out of LAN or something, as much as these are two teams who are gunning for the top spot in North America right now. G2, I feel like almost would have the edge in this match just because they want it that much more because they've never had that top spot.
Ouch. Oh. When you bring that to reality, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
No, I mean, they
G2's
have
never
had it.
won.
Yeah.
Maybe not with.
Well, okay, they won.
They have
not
brief
that by
moments
power.
of it. I know. I mean, even going back to Game of the Chew, there was a point where they were just dominating online.
Yeah.
Like G2. Where I think this match is going to go, I think it's going to go to Energy's favor, and I think the reason for that is G2 just really seems to struggle with consistency, and this is like, yo, G2, just watch your own replays, right?
And this is the most consistent we've seen them perform, like on a week-to-week basis between the Brisk series and the other online tournaments and playing.
They mentioned it was due to replay review and to practicing, and they said that was a huge part. Yeah, their boot camp really helped them improve, and it kills me inside because they're a good team, and Kronovi especially is one of the most mechanically strong players to watch.
Sure.
It's so much fun to watch, but he's just like any other player. You get caught in bad habits, you struggle to adapt mid-game, and this is a team that I think specifically right now, they have a roster that is basically star-studded. Every single player on that roster is incredible, one of the best in North America. And in the world, they just need to like iron out the bad habits and focus on making sure they don't come back because
I mean,
so who you guys picking here then?
Energy.
Oh man, wow, fast. Sitting here and talking about G2, doesn't matter. NRG's the clean pick from the desk.
G2 kind of crapped out over, not G2, sorry. Energy didn't have the hottest performance at Atlanta.
They ran, but they were up against, in a single elimination bracket, they went up against Cloud9, who went on to win the whole thing.
Well, we're going to just talk about like alternating results. When Energy,
I'm with that guy. Whatever that guy just said.
We'll talk about them some more later. We got to move on. Moving it back over to Europe. This is my favorite rivalry at the moment. Envious versus Galeforce. Galeforce has beaten Envious every time. The reigning world champs have yet to beat this star roster, who has one of their star players from playing at the World Championship, Turbo Pulsa, sitting there right on your screen. These guys.
So what you're saying is 2 reigning world champs just can't beat the other reigning world champ.
Basically, yeah.
I wonder who. I wonder what that means. Speaking of having 100 Twitch accounts just to say Turbo's not the problem.
Envious and Devo were the problem. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, what are you supposed to do there? No, I mean, This is one of the most fun things because watching these two teams go against each other, it's like I can almost see the fire in the eyes that I can't see because they're on screens behind controllers. But just knowing how well they want to play against each other and just every single player between those two, all 6 of them, I can picture a single moment in my head of like, I remember when he was able to just like destroy somebody or just do so amazingly well. So I just love watching these two teams, if anything, just to watch the raw mechanical skill come out of any moment in that game.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts about these two teams matching up is I kind of equate this to being the best offense versus the best defense in Rocket League. I think that Envious, there's no team I feel they ever struggle to score on. There's not a single team. The only team really is Galeforce.
Galeforce with the best defense.
And Galeforce does not by any means keep clean sheets against Envious. Not a chance. I mean, their matches are very, very close.
Sure.
There's usually a lot of goals in them, oddly enough, which you don't really see in any of Galeforce's other matchups.
So we need a break here, but I want to just get quickly. What does Envious need to do? Obviously, Galeforce has the favor here as they've won 3 times in a row. These guys have faced off. What does Envious need to do, and who are you picking?
They need to shut down K-Dop.
Shut down K-Dop.
Yeah, K-Dop just really, his rotations are so unpredictable because he doesn't really rotate straight back. He always goes side to side. And they just need to keep somebody on and make sure that he's not doing what he does best, which is, I think, maintaining possession of the ball and winning through 50-50.
And who you got?
I mean,
Galeforce.
Galeforce.
Galeforce. Okay, you got to go with Galeforce until they lose?
I think that...
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just until they lose, it's just they haven't shown a weakness. They haven't shown a weak point, at least nothing like detrimental.
Except second place.
I mean, except for
If
second place.
if they face off in the grand finals, I mean, they just got this.
Struggling in the grand finals. But oh man, this will be a grand final basically because just the 2 of them. So we'll see if Envious can do it, guys. It's been crazy talk about Rivalry. Can't wait to watch that later. But one more segment here before we move on from overtime for the day. You like to hear us argue? We're gonna argue some more. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Like, dislikes coming up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.